Welcome to the Connecting DZ video series. Our next topic is effective organizational involvement and board participation. Part of becoming something bigger than yourself and your organization can provide a perspective that makes you a better leader and a better employee. Many people engage in professional organizations, but only at the surface level, and they don't get the most out of their engagement, and they don't get results. How can we effectively engage with organizations to improve ourselves and our profession? Today we'll have a discussion with DZ on his approach to organizational involvement and board participation.
So DZ, what role has professional organization involvement played in your career?
Well, it's been at least half of my life. I've been involved with associations, starting with the Wisconsin Society of Hospital Pharmacists way back just when I got out of the residency program. I guess I can share this little bit of information. I was gone for a few days, and when I got back, Win Durant told me I was chairman of the Wisconsin Society of Hospital Pharmacists Membership Recruitment Committee, which was one of the most upsetting moments of my life because I'm a farm boy, INTJ personality. I didn't want nothing to do with recruiting anybody to anything. But they had a committee that did all the work, and so I got a lot of the credit. But it gave me, that was my first sort of association's accountability. And then after that, it kind of got into the swing of things and got involved with the State Society and then the National Society. So it's been a key part, both I think in terms of stimulus, but also the network of people that you meet in that associations. And then to see, over a period of time, some decisions are made that had some really pretty positive impacts. So, I'm a strong believer that you gotta get together, and associations are one good way of doing it. It's a constantly churning in terms of what they do, how effective they are, the membership, because it's a continually rotating thing. So it's a real constant juggling act in terms of how you can be influential.
Is there any organizational work that you've done that you felt has been most impactful or most enjoyable?
Well, going from zero to a major organization, UHC, certainly, that was a really big, the creation of that. I think my ASHP era, they were all good with Otis and Henry Manasseh. Both as a board member, presidential officer, and then as a treasurer. So I got to see those three components and how they fit together. And so you have different levels of influence, on each of them. So I think they're critical. And, I think people you gotta be prepared for every meeting. And so if you aren't willing to do that, you shouldn't probably have your name totally with it. It's hard work if you do it right. And I guess one thing else, I always, as I look through the agenda and the meetings, I would always try to think, what is the question that is not going to be asked that I should ask based on my experience and where I see things fit. To me, that's sort of where you bring real value. Asking the unasked questions in the environment that'll get good discussion. I never found with me personally having a very strong opinion in terms of we got to do X, Y, and Z work, at least it didn't for me, is sort of framing the questions so that people got the discussions that would lead to, the best bottom line decision and direction. The other thing is always important, the CEO of the association is critical when you're on the board. How they interact with you, how you interact with them, how you can fit together, where there's going to be conflict, just acknowledging it's an issue conflict, it's not a personality conflict. Those kinds of things, got to be when you get into the board level of activity.
So along those lines, if you are new to being on a board, any advice for people as they're starting off in that part of their careers?
Well, read as much as you can about what's been going on the year in as much detail. You have to be a little bit of a historian there for a while when you get started Don't come in with without knowing a lot of the details that are going on in the past, as much as the association will give you. When I was ASHP area, ASHP was excellent at that. They gave you too much almost to handle. But if you look through and all that, you understand the nuances of all the activities inside and out, from board. And so I think you make better decisions, you ask better questions, provide more insight if you'll do that backward. If you're not interested in to do that, you're probably not going to be an optimum contributor to the organization. Some people just do it for title. To me, that's kind of short-sighted. I think you have to have more of a passion for what that association stands for and then how you can contribute to it. But that's hard work.
Dave, and there's some organizations people work for these days that organization doesn't always encourage their employees, their leaders, to serve on professional organizations. They think it's going to suck up too much time. They aren't focused on the work. So do you have any advice for people who have aspirations to serve on a board, how that can help them be better employees in their organization, more effective in their organizations, to help have that discussion with their boss to encourage their ability to participate?
So I'm kind of out of date on how that all fits right now in terms of the activity, but I do sense that to some extent. Well, if it isn't at a national level, then it isn't at a state, is there a local, or is there something within the hospital that will give you experience with kind of voluntary support activity? And so that's one thing to think about. I was fortunate in being in an organization that the CEO thought it's important that our people be networked to learn what's going on, and kind of a basis that you're developing your influence skills. So that may not be the case anymore. So I don't know how, what to advise them. But if they're on any group, do their homework and be sure they're prepared. Because to me, I see a lot of people coming in, they like the title and they probably read the minutes on the way to the meeting or the half an hour before, and it shows. So I think doing your homework, being prepared, whatever level, board, committee, subcommittee, or wherever you are in any kind of association.
But you do feel that serving professional organizations can make you a more effective leader in your day job?
Absolutely. Yep. Well, one thing, you're getting ideas from other organizations during those discussions. That can be invaluable. Maybe that would work here. At least maybe part of that would work back home. So, yeah, absolutely. That the networking and the sort of the casual information that's never published or written, that's the best way to get it. So that's why, and I think, I think Vizient and some of those resident involvement, ASHP, at a young stage, it's something you got to work on. What worked as a student officer in a pharmacy school is not going to work as well when you get into the national thing. So it's a continuous learning area. So yeah, I would never discourage anybody that's got an interest. How they expand their contribution is what you got to continue working on. And I think people that have had a lot of combat shouldn't be shy about, hey, that was a dumb statement. You probably don't want to do that again, kind of thing. Or, why didn't you say something? A person did. So I think, there can be an ongoing kind of counseling activity with people that have had more contact, especially with the younger people that are just getting started. And make it constructive. It doesn't have to be demeaning or belittling.
Time with leaders like DZ should not only be informational and inspirational, it should be fun and bring joy. So a couple more questions for you on this topic, DZ. What is the most memorable conference you attended and what story sticks out to you?
There was an awful lot of good times in many of them. I don't want to share too many personal things. Somebody might get in trouble, but none really jumps out at me. Okay. I think maybe the year that I was president, installed as president of ASHP and given the presidential address, That one comes to me from time to time. Sister Gonzalez was sitting right next to me, and she said, "Don't be nervous. We're listening to every word you got to say," which has put me into a total panic. So a few of those things come to mind.
So Dave, I'm going to ask you to think back to when you were in pharmacy school. You've obviously been one of our profession's top 5 successful, inspirational leaders and connectors of all time. So when you were a pharmacy student, did you view yourself as a future leader? Yes or no? And how do you think leadership happened for you? Was this something you always set out to do, or did it happen through a result of good luck, good decisions? Explain to us how you became a successful leader.
So no, I had no aspirations to be a leader. Never crossed my mind that was my role in life. So no, I don't know quite how to answer that. To me, it was a role that I was selected to or positioned to take on that needed to be done, that I enjoyed doing. So I never really thought of it, being out in front of the pack or that sort of thing. It was a job that needed to be done, and I'd like to do that job. So I don't know if that quite answers your...
What skills or attributes do you think have made you a successful leader then, since you never set out to do it from the beginning?
I think there's one word that I could come on. It's the whole concept of interdependence. And, my Whitney, I had that as one of the key words on my Whitney thing, is that, when I look at all the things I did and how I functioned and how I dealt with people, it's everybody is interdependent. And I'm dependent on you, and you have to be a little dependent on me. So I think if there was a single word that kind of characterizes how I function in that capacity, interdependence. How do I create a constant interdependence culture